Today we will be doing these questions on expense. Okay, so let's take a look at the question right now. So the name of the business in this case is Daisy Limited. Okay, and of course the business year ends on 31st December. And during the year, the following transaction takes place. Okay, so for information all these informations are all related to commissions. And then, of course, information 2, then it will involve the one on advertising. So for these questions, if you look at the journal requirement, we are supposed to do for both commission expense as well as advertising expense. So as you are reading the questions, you will have to make sure you break down the relevant parts into the one that you want to do. Okay. So for commission expense here, we will have to look at how much commission was actually paid. So we pay in total this amount. And then at the end of the accounting year, they see that the commission owing is $900. So what is missing from here? If we know that the expense paid is 5,700 and 6,005, and then at the end we still owe 900. Okay, so for expense, we always look at it in terms of the expense paid versus the expense incurred. So if at the end we have a payable, so in total we paid $12,200. The amount owing is 900. How do we find the amount incurred for the year or used? So obviously when you look at it, we didn't pay enough. Okay, so how do you even calculate the amount incurred? I would have taken the 12,200 plus 900. That would have given you the amount 13,100 for the amount incurred. Okay, so this will be the thinking process for commission expense. So let's take a look at how we're going to put it into the journal for the commission expense. So let's start. For commission expense, the first piece of information related to commission expense is on May 31st. So we did pay the expense 5,700. So whenever we have any expense, you will have to debit. If this is based on your double entry rules, all expense will be debited whenever we pay for it. So we will debit commission expense 5,007, and then we will credit our cash at bank because the money in my bank decreases. Cash at bank are our assets. When asset decrease, we will credit our cash at bank. Then we have another payment on December 28. So we're going to do the same because this is just another payment of commission expense. So we will debit commission expense 6,500, followed by credit cash at bank 6,500. So as long as the questions give you information about paying or expense, we will just continue to record as per the date given. Okay, the confusing part will comes in because at the end of the accounting period, which ends on 31st December, there are a few things that we need to take note. Number one, here we knew that there is actually a owing of commission expense at the end of the year, and commission owing in this case are our payable. And we have learned that when you have payable is actually a liability. So commission expense payable will be created at the end of the accounting year because we are still owing $900. At the same time, this will be debited to my commission expense, because even though we haven't paid for it, it is still counted as the commission expense for the year that we are doing. So our year actually begins at 2018 Jan the 1st, and then it will end on 31st December 2018. So what we are saying is at the end of the year, we still owe commission expense 900. So if you want to do a closing entry, basically we need to know how much commission expense was incurred. We have already done that thinking process earlier on. So now let's do a closing entry at year end. So commission expense was debited previously. Now, if you want to do a closing entry for my expense, in this case, commission expense, we have already added the value to be 13,100. Okay. So if you want, you can write your working beside. We have paid 5,007. We have paid 6,005. In the end, we still owe 900 commission expense. How much is my commission expense that we should have incurred? It would have been 13,100. So closing entries in this case requires us to transfer this to your income summary, so that later on we can in fact transfer this to our statement of financial performance. So we are more or less done with the commission expense journal entry. Okay, so now let's take a look at the journal for advertising expense. Okay, for advertising expense here, there are a couple of date given. So what I will do is I want to use this, okay, to explain to you what's going on here. So as you can see, okay, wait, give me a minute now. Okay, so as you can see here, okay, so for advertising itself, because there are a couple of dates that's given over here, so I'm going to show you a timeline to summarize the information for information related to the advertising. So let's take a look at the timeline for this info number 2. So we're going to start off with my accounting year end for this business actually ends at 31st December, and we are doing the year for 2018 over here. So the beginning date would have been 1st of Jan 2018. What we are trying to do over here is we want to capture any information that's related within this time frame. Okay. And the question, in fact, tells us that on the 1st of May 2018, we actually paid an advertising amount of $9,000 on 1st of May. And this payment, though we pay on 1st of May, is actually meant for 12 months. 12 months, if you pay on 1st May, 12 months would have mean that we are going to pay until 30th of April 2019. So the date here would have been 30th April 2019. Okay, maybe I just put down the date for you over here. Then you can have a clearer picture of what's going on. So 30th April 2019. Yes. Okay. So I was saying here, when we make the payment on 1st of May 2018, this $9,000 actually is meant from 1st of May all the way to 30th April 2019. But the problem is our business year ends on 31st December, which is the blue line over here. So what's going on here is we know that in this case, by the end of the accounting year, we would have made extra payment for my advertising. Then we need to start calculating how many months of advertising have we prepaid. So that's why if you work out the time frame over here, you will realize that my business ends at 31st December 2018. The following month, which is Jan 2019, February, March, and April. So in other words, we have paid extra 4 months. Okay, and we have not used them by 31st December 2018. So these means that we need to calculate 4 months of advertising. We can take 9,000 divided by 12 months to find 1 month first. After that, we will multiply by 4 months. This will give me a calculation of this $3,000 over here. So this 3,000 has not been used up by 31st December. So we are going to minus it away from my advertising expense. At the same time, on 31st December 2018, we need to have a prepaid advertising expense. Okay. So how does this translate to what you are going to put in your journal? Okay, let me just minimize the screen over here. Okay, let me just minimize. Okay. So what you're going to do? Okay. So what we're going to do is after we have looked at the timeline that we have prepared, now we are ready to transfer all this into my journal. Okay. So let's take a look at how we're going to do the journal. So the reason why commission expense I don't have to do the timeline, whereas advertising needs, is because here when the information tells us about advertising, they give us a date that is after your accounting year end, which is the 30th April 2019. So when you see dates that is beyond the accounting periods that you need, most probably there is a prepaid. So it'd be good to do a timeline to see an overview of what's going on. Okay, so now again, the first event that's related to the advertising expense will be 2018. Here, May 1st. Okay, as you can see from the timeline or from the question itself, we actually pay for advertising expense. So in other words, we are going to debit our advertising expense and credit our cash at bank by $9,000. Okay, once you're done with that, we are ready to move on to accounting year end, which is on 31st December 2018. We have already gone through that thinking process. On this day, we have calculated there are actually 4 months that is belonging to the next accounting period. So we are going to remove them on the last day, which is December 31st. So on December 31st, we will have a prepaid advertising expense, and prepaid advertising expense are our assets. So assets will be created, you debit prepaid advertising expense. At the same time, we credit our advertising expense, because we know that even though we paid 9,000 previously, 3,000 doesn't belong to the year that we are doing. The one that we are doing is only up to 2018, 31st December. So once you have done that, again at year end, all expenses need to be closed off. So how do we do a closing entry for your advertising expense? How much should we close off? The closing or entry actually means the amount of advertising expense that's incurred. So I paid 9,000 for the year. Out of it, 3,000 is meant for the next accounting year. So in other words, the advertising expense incurred for the year would have been only 6,000. Okay, so we will have to proceed to close off to our income summary. Okay, if you watch a previous video, we have been doing closing entry. So all income summary will eventually be transferred to your statement of financial performance. So once you are done with the journal, we are now ready to move on to do your part B, which is to prepare the statement of financial performance. So which of these information will appear in my financial performance? We always go back to your closing entry, which is your, this one I highlight for you, the 13,100 for your commission expense, as well as the advertising expense. So this one needs to be transferred to your financial performance. So if you do a little bit of recap, financial performance will only capture information related to income and expense. But of course, for this question, there isn't any income. The only relevant item are your expense. And in this case, we have the commission expense as well as the advertising expense. Okay. The challenge will be how much is the commission expense incurred for the year? We have already done our thinking process just now. It would have been 13,100, as well as the advertising expense for the year is $6,000. Okay, so we are done with the extract for the financial performance. We are now ready to move on to the financial position. So what is going on as at 31st December? If you look at it carefully, the one that is relevant to your position, of course, will be those related to your assets and liability. In this case, as at 31st December, we know that we are owing for commission expense. And commission expense, of course, is our current liability. And then we also have our prepaid advertising expense. This will be a current assets. So the position matters when you're doing your financial position. So we're going to start off with current assets. Okay, so you write down the subsection of the position, current assets, followed by prepaid advertising expense. Then you can pen down the value as 13,100. Okay, next, for your commission expense payable, you can actually pen down again. This will be your current liability. And then you write down your commission expense payable as $900.